Hi there, welcome to my channel, Avid Retro. So this is video I will append to the end of this video and after the pictures as well. And today I'm going to feature another camera. This is a Canon IXUS 80IS. Now I have done an earlier review of another Canon which is similar to this, and it's a Canon 70. Now this is a slightly improved model on that. What's quite striking when you first look at this one though is that it's more kind of curved and rounded at the edges. So I'll just give you a little look at the camera. So this is obviously the front of the camera. This is quite a shiny addition here compared to the IXUS 70, which had a black ring around the lens. Now the lens is identical and the sensor is slightly higher. This is an 8 megapixel sensor on here. It's got a slight indentation on there, kind of to hold your finger in there like that. You see that? So it's a nice looking camera, slightly chunkier I would say. Now maybe it's a little bit chunkier because it's got an image stabilizer, and that is supposed to be an optical stabilizer in there. Now on the side there's a port for connecting to a printer or to computer. So nice to see a sort of old style USB plug, but one that you can probably still source. There's also an AV out there. And you can see it's got the Canon wrist strap attached here. So nothing on this edge. Looking underneath, you can see this camera was made in Japan, which is always nice to see. It's got the part here for mounting on a tripod, a sliding cover in here, and you can see it shares the same battery as on the earlier camera, and it's got an SD card in there. So one thing that you will notice, if you try to turn it on with the door open, it won't work. And if you've got one of these and it just doesn't seem to work, then it might be worth just looking at the little micro switch in there, because sometimes the plastic here could be broken and that's why it might not power up. So it's the original battery in here, which is nice. Quite a powerful flash and a nice screen. I would have preferred if the actual screen itself had been maybe lowered inside the camera, just to kind of protect it a little bit more. So obviously if you put this into a pocket with keys, then it's more likely to kind of scratch, or with coins and things. Now one of the good features about this camera is it's got the optical viewfinder, but there's no way to adjust that. So if you do need glasses, then probably at an advanced age you might find that everything is quite blurry when you look through there. But anyway, it's a nice sort of feature to have. The controls on the back look very similar to the IXUS 70 that I showed in one of my other videos. I'll just rattle through some of the differences. This camera was released in 2008. It's about a year after the IXUS 70. Now the IXUS 70 didn't have image stabilization, but this one does. They do share the same lens. This is 8 megapixels compared to the 7.1 megapixels of the IXUS 70. Now the screen size is the same, but there are more pixels on here, and potentially it is a brighter screen. Now this is obviously a little bit chunkier than the IXUS 70. It's more rounded, as I previously mentioned, but it does still feel very well made. Both cameras had face detection technology, but this has been enhanced and it does actually include face tracking now. The ISO sensitivity is similar to the IXUS 70, but there is better image processing on this camera. They do share the same processor, the digit 3 processor, but processing is better on the IXUS 80. So both cameras got the optical viewfinder. They do have video recording capabilities. Unfortunately though, it's only 640 by 480. But potentially the recordings might be slightly improved on this camera. Now, as I mentioned, the processor between both cameras is the same, but software is probably more updated on this one, so this is probably a better camera with respect to its software and processing capabilities. Now, they do share the same battery, and because the software has been changed, the actual number of shots on the IXUS 80 is slightly more, so you're supposed to get possibly a third more shots than the IXUS 70. So the battery that you're looking at needing is the MB4L if you haven't got one. So let's just show you what that one looks like. That's it there, so it's quite small. The contacts kind of go in the middle here, well, towards the middle of the camera, I guess. So you just push that in, that just holds it in place, and it's just a little click in for the memory card. So you should get around 4 hours in playback mode when you're looking at photos off this battery, so that's quite good. Now, I have gone out recently to take some photos with this, and I will add those to the end of this video for you to have a look at. Unfortunately, the skies were quite dull, but I think in some ways that's a little bit more testing for a camera like this, so I'll let you be the judgment as to whether or not it actually took reasonable pictures or not. I'll have a quick look at the menu system on here. So very similar to the IXUS 70. You can just kind of pull all the way down. Such a nice clean menu system. Decent size lettering as well, which is good. All the usual kind of features in here. So you then go across and then down again. Let's have a look at how bright this display is. So that's getting quite power hungry now, I guess. So I've whacked it right up, but yeah, you can see it's pretty bright. I'm going to just knock it down just to conserve the battery. Various modes on here that you would expect. Got a nice time zone mode as well for when you decide to go on holiday. You can format the memory card from within the camera and do various things. That's quite useful. Create folder option. It's saying that after a minute the lens should go in, so we'll give that a little test in a minute. It's recording in PAL, but it does support NTSC. And you can just go back to defaults as well. So let's go to the last setting here. So this is all to do with themes, if you can be bothered to set all this kind of stuff up. I don't tend to, I just tend to leave everything quite sort of straightforward really. So that kind of shows you the options on there. If I wait a second, should power down the lens to save some power. In terms of, it's probably got more megapixels on it, at the same size chip as the one in the IXUS 70. At this kind of end of the megapixel range, it's probably not a huge deal, though you can obviously change various settings, like your ISO settings, to get better pictures in lower light. There's continuous frames there, shooting. There's also macro modes and far away modes, I guess. There we go. Oh, it's just powered the display down. What about the lens retract? What did I have that set to? Reviews 2 seconds. That's in here, wasn't it? Okay. So it says 1 minute. Can only set it to 1 minute. I'm going to leave that like that for now, just so I can show you some of these other settings. So for shooting pictures, at the moment it's set to the auto mode, auto flash. It's giving you some basic information here, and you can kind of change some of that. You can actually save more power actually by just turning off that LCD display and using the optical viewfinder and just really treating it almost like an old school point and shoot film camera. But pressing that again gives you display. So no rule of thirds grid being displayed. Some cameras do have that option. So function set. What happens is you scroll down here and you go along here and select the mode. So this is this kind of shooting mode at the moment. So it's on auto. We can go into a kind of very basic manual mode where you can go down, change auto white balance, exposure compensation, etc. Metering as well. Digital macro. Interesting. Portrait. Nighttime shooting. And then you can do some sort of changes with the colour, I think. Colour swap. And just modes, I suppose, for things that move around a bit quicker, like kids and pets. Okay, so let's scroll down here. You can see it's set to the 8 megapixels, but you could whack it down to say 5. 5 is probably okay. 3 is probably just not quite enough for most sort of pictures, so 5 is sort of borderline, but that might give you a better result in low light if then you went and adjusted the ISO setting. It's even got a widescreen mode there as well, but that's just essentially losing a few pixels, isn't it? So let's just go back up to the 8, I think, and show you there. At the moment it's just on default, but sometimes it makes a slight difference to just knock it to a different value on here. Auto white balance. Now I am in fluorescent kind of a light at the moment, so maybe that's when I should be kind of doing it on, something like that. But we'll go back out. My colour's off, vivid. This is like the Fuji Fine Pix, so you can actually do some different kind of modes in here. So you don't have to do post-processing then, you can obviously let the camera do it. So some nice things there to look at and to play about with. And a custom setting as well. So this is your metering. And then again we're down to quality of pictures. Again, this does affect kind of compression in the actual pictures. Alright, let's just go to digital macro. It's got all the usual kind of functions. Portrait, light, shot. So I was using this the other day, and there we go. That one, that colour swap seems to take the flash off. What I found is when I was in auto mode, for instance, I had to always take off the flash like this, and then when I turn the power back on again, it would then go back to auto flash. So just something to bear in mind if you're just using auto mode, you're walking around a museum or country house or something and you're trying to take pictures discreetly, you might, every time you power it up, have to go into here and just kind of override the auto flash. So I'm just going to put that back to auto just for a minute. Let's have a look at ISO. So under auto, it's not giving you much of an option here. High ISO auto or auto, and we can probably delve into it a little bit more by going to manual. So manual does knock the flash off, and it does allow you to specify proper ISO settings as well. So obviously the higher the number here, the more likely you'll capture pictures in the dark or in darker surroundings, but you will experience a bit more grain and noise, potentially at the higher end. So knocking it kind of down, you probably want to, normally stick to around 100 or 80 if you're just using this outside. On a grey day, you could possibly knock it to 200 or 400, and then for occasional shots, maybe indoors in darker surroundings, and outside, then you probably use the 800 or 1600. So we've got different shot mode here, like single shot, continuous, and then we've got timer modes as well. So that's all quite useful. It's still one of the most useful things really on a camera like this, apart from the optical, and the fact that you can kind of hold this down quite low. It'll prop itself up, whereas a phone is a little bit trickier. Like, you do have to kind of always ensure that it's being held, or at least lent in the right kind of position. It is very useful to have these sort of self timers and things, and you can frame it, set it all up. You can use the optical zoom, which is always a bit nicer than relying on the digital zooms, and you can actually get some good kind of family shots and things, or group shots of people. Just showing you, we've got the macro, got normal, so just, and then infinity. So if you're out in the desert, that could be useful, or out in the countryside anyway. Let's just stick that to normal. Sort of times off and selects it, so you don't have to sort of press set. But that is essentially the very nice Canon, and it does show on here, if you pull that way, then you're pulling in, so whatever you're focusing on fills the frame, so that kind of makes sense. It's like the magnifying aspect. Or I've got the digital zoom on at the moment, which I don't normally leave on. I never use digital zoom, because the thing is you can use that later on your computer when you're editing the photos, so I normally restrict it to optical. I don't think I've recorded any video on this. I suppose maybe I should do, actually. Just see how it sounds. So here it's saying 160 standard. Okay, we're going to go for 640. On this 4GB card, it's only saying it's got half an hour left. I'm going to start shooting some video. So this is video I will append to the end of this video and after the pictures as well, so you can hear the sound of the microphone, the way it's recorded. I'll stop that in a second. I just want to see if it allows me to zoom. Yeah, it's got a slower zoom, which is nice. So that is the kind of thing that you would want when you're making a video. The fact that you can zoom in and out nice and slow, less kind of noise from the motor as well. It gets picked up on the actual recording. It's just taking a few seconds to buffer that. Shall we just see if we can play that? So it's put the lens away, which is nice, and I just love the way the software is set up on these cameras. So I'm not sure where the volume is, if there is a volume enhancer. I guess there probably is. Is that it there? I thought that was it there. You can actually edit in the camera as well, which is nice. So it probably means you can split the video into separate videos. Yeah, looks good. Let's go back to review and just show you some shots. I will put some of these on, but it gives you an idea how good the resolution of the display is here. So for a camera from 2008, over 15 years ago, it's actually pretty good, pretty nice. Got that kind of real classic CCD look about it in the pictures, and these pictures were all taken on days when it was very kind of cloudy, not much light. That's an indoor one without a flash. You can see that's done a reasonable job of exposing that. You can see kind of like the lights there. So thank you for watching this video. At the end of the video, I'm appending the photos that I've taken with this camera recently, just so you can see the kind of quality. And I would definitely recommend picking up one of these if you can. It's so small, it's a good backup camera if anything goes wrong with your smartphone, for example, or if you just want to get into discreet street photography using a kind of small CCD camera, then this is absolutely fantastic for that. Thank you for watching this video. Please can you like and subscribe, and I will make some more videos in the future. Bye for now. this is video I will append to the end of this video and after the pictures as well, so you can hear the sound of the microphone, the way it's recorded. I'll stop that in a second. I just want to see if it allows me to zoom. Yeah, it's got a slower zoom, which is nice. So that is the kind of thing that you would want when you're making a video. The fact that you can zoom in and out nice and slow, less kind of noise from the motor as well. It gets picked up on the actual recording.